Hello, and welcome back to my LinkedIn Live this week. Today, I want to talk about a quality that I think is incredibly important for all of us, whether we are mighty mamas or mighty papas or anything else in between, and that is resilience, emotional resilience. And so these past few weeks, I've been talking about back to school. And you're probably thinking, Mahika, what does back to school have to do with resilience? And I think it has a lot to do with resilience. It has a lot to do with our ability to bounce back from adversities, which is the definition of resilience. And adversities can come in many different sizes, shapes, and forms. And when it comes to back to school, one of the biggest adversities that we can face, which seems kind of small. Okay, not one of the biggest, but one of the biggest. Not the biggest, but one of the biggest. One of the adversities that I find most of my clients are, really get under their skin, is that morning routine, is that getting out the door in the morning. And so that's what I want to talk about today, is being resilient, being emotionally resilient, so that we can strengthen our spirits during this school year. So today I wanted to focus on two areas. One was techniques for staying calm during those busy mornings. And this can work for you even if you are not a busy mama, or if you're a busy mama with kids that are a little bit grown, a little more independent, maybe they're in high school or college. But things that we can even implement in our own lives as we're walking out the door, getting ready for our day-to-day activities, whether it's working inside the home, working outside the home, or just preparing, supporting others, whatever it may be. I think these tips will come in handy, and because they have saved my butt on multiple occasions. And so the first one of three techniques to stay calm during those busy mornings, is to start preparing before the busy morning, which is the night before. And so what you can do the night before, things could include, laying out clothes, getting breakfast and snacks ready, getting lunches ready, at least having things where where things are, do all that searching stuff, all the finding and looking for activities the night before, because you can think more soundly. There's not that much of an urgent time clock, or a sense of time where you're like, oh, the bus is coming at a certain time, or school starts at a certain time, so we need to leave the house by a certain time. You kind of remove some of those ambiguities in the evening, because you're like, okay, well, if we extend bedtime by 10-15 minutes, not the end of the world. But if you arrive at the bus stop 10-15 minutes too late, that might just be a big problem, because then you might miss the bus, or you might be late to school. So anyway, do those things the night before. I like to call them my finding activities. So make sure you have your backpack, make sure you have your shoes, or your kids have their backpack, their shoes, their clothes. If it's a brand new outfit, especially with back to school, I know my daughter has already asked, for a plethora of things. So, make sure they've tried on all those outfits. You're not going through the whole trying on process in the morning only to discover something doesn't fit right. So do all of those finding, trying things the night before. And what that does is it prepares you, because if you fail to plan, then you have planned to fail, my friends. So second one is create a morning routine. So know what you need to do every day in the morning. What time do you need to start? So I always like to start backwards. So if you need to be out the door. So for my kids, for example, they need to be out the door by 7:30. If we want to have a peaceful walk to the bus stop, if we're not full on sprinting, then we need to leave by 7:30. And if we need to do that by 7:30, that means we need to be done breakfast, ideally by 7:20, 7:25 at the absolute latest, just to give them 5 minutes to gather up all their stuff. And, any of that last minute finding stuff that didn't happen the night before, we can take care of it now. Or things we didn't realize that we needed the night before, we can have a little bit of wiggle time. So if they need to be done breakfast by 7:25, that means they need to be down by 7:15 to have started breakfast. And this is, of course, their time frame, not my time frame. Mine is a whole other different LinkedIn Live altogether. And then just keep working backwards to when they need to first wake up. And have that discussion with them. Because many times they'll be like, hey, Mama, I don't need that much time to get myself ready. That would be my son's line. Whereas my daughter would be like, Mama, I think I need double that amount of time to get myself ready. So figure it out with the kids, find out when they need to wake up in order to make all of this happen at the right time. And then have those backup plans. Say, you know what, if you wake up 10 minutes late, then guess which one of these items is going to have to go. You may not have enough time to do all the primping and the hair stuff that you would like to do. So let them know what's going to give if they wake up late. So create that morning routine. And then thirdly, practice patience. This is not one of my virtues. I may have many virtues. Patience is not one of them. So practice patience and stay calm when things do not go as planned. Because remember, it's okay if everything isn't perfect. And this has been something that I have struggled with. And what I found is this: on those mornings when things do get, a little heated and, everyone's running late and everyone's yelling and come on, hurry up. What did I tell you? Blah, 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 blah. I told you to do this last night. I told you to take care of this before. What that basically does is, I'm thinking back to so many times when I've done that over the years. I'm basically sending my kids off to school with all this negative energy. The last thing they see of me before they get on the bus, I mean, I say I love you to them, but the otherwise last thing they hear from my mouth is just yelling and loud and how come you can't listen? And, because once we get into that heated, elevated state, we start taking things up a notch. And then they start, it's like you kind of are trying to meet each other. Every time one person escalates, the next person feels like they have to do a one up from them. And then you just keep going. And before you know it, you're saying things that like you really don't mean. And you're using a tone that you really don't enjoy. And so I found that is not how I want to send them off to school. And so what I've tried to do towards the tail end of last year and what I plan to do going into the school year this year is to just practice peace and calm. And if I stay calm, then I think the rest of the morning will reflect that. And I'll be sending them to school feeling a little more positive, a little more prepared to take on their day. And, worst case scenario, I have to drop them off at school. Not a big deal. So things that I can kind of figure out, I can deal with being a little late to my work and my meetings. I cannot deal with, start having them start their day on such a negative note. So again, just to recap some of those tips on techniques on how to stay calm during those busy mornings. First one is prepare the night before. Second one, create that morning routine and kind of map out what those timings are going to look like. And then third one is to practice patience, because it's not a good way to start the day for you or for them. And it's always good to practice patience. And so now we all know that, these things may not always work out the way we planned. So I always like to adopt more of a flexible mindset when it comes to these things, because the unexpected should be expected. So embrace that change, whatever that change is, embrace it, lean into it, and kind of work with it. Second, focus on the solutions, especially when some of these changes, these unexpected things that come up, keep coming up. And so when that happens, try to think about what you can do to get ahead of that. Maybe that's one more thing to add onto your Find My list from the night before. So whatever that is, try to find solutions to help you get ahead of that unexpected change that comes up or that challenge. And then thirdly, learn from these experiences. We are evolving humans. Give yourself some grace. It's not always going to be perfect despite all your best attempts, but I promise you it'll be a little bit better than it was last week or last month if you stay consistent with this and learn from those experiences. And so that's all I have for you today. Just wanted to help you, remind you that having a flexible mindset is incredibly integral. So just to recap some of those points, one was to embrace change. Lean into it. You're not going to be able to keep it at bay. So lean into it when it happens. Focus on those solutions. Because many times a lot of these challenges that come up, they'll keep coming up, and it's really good to try to think about how to solve them and get ahead of them. And then lastly is to learn from those experiences, to learn what you can do to improve the next time. And so I hope you learned something from this, and I hope you can implement some of these tips into your life. And if you have any questions or would like some further guidance, please do schedule a clarity call with me. Send me a message. And I'd be more than happy to have a conversation with you to help you strengthen your spirit during this school year. So be strong, be kind, and stay mighty as always.